What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you, UFC 330. Fun fact, I have probably paid $40,000 to have my name on just about every canvas. I would think the last 3+ years, 4 years. I will break the streak at UFC 330. Will not pay to have my name on. It's just too bad of a card. And I understand when I say that. You look at UFC Belgrade, a lot of people, myself included, were a little down on that card. Dana White himself couldn't pick a fight he was looking forward to for that card. But look at what that card just delivered. Record-breaking card when it comes to first-round stoppages. So I understand fully you can't judge a card till it's over, but you can certainly look at a card and understand reasonably what's expected to take place. When you look at UFC 330, Islam Makhachev and Ian Machado Gary, it's a fantastic championship fight. It's a huge test for Islam to deal with range. Obviously, a lot of people dislike Ian. The problem, I think, is that Ian doesn't have that same dislike somebody like Colby Covington did. There's no trash talk that's generating this disdain from a fan base where you tune in to watch him lose. There's no personal rivalry like we saw with Colby and Jorge Masvidal, where you knew there was meaning behind the trash talk. There was a true bitter friendship that had went astray, and you wanted to see these two compete. This is something totally different. This is just most people being astonished at someone's guiding principles and how they carry themselves. I don't know if that's enough to sell a fight. No, Ian isn't saying these things to get fans to watch. He's saying them because that's how he lives his life. And I just don't think that from a promotional perspective with a fight, it's the same thing. And honestly, once you get beyond the title fights, the quality of this event drops off dramatically. And to be fair, the hope that a title fight can carry a card, it's almost seemingly what this is built on. And I understand for a lot of us stateside, it's no longer the prospect of, quit paying for it, quote unquote. Yes, we're in this Paramount era. You're going to see cards like this. But I still think most pure fans want ranked matchups, want title eliminators. We want the legacy, the lineage of those numbered events to mean something. And in this case, it's just incredibly top heavy. And there's only the prospect of maybe a handful of fights that are going to stand out. And if anything happens, I don't want to jinx it, but let's just say something happens to the main event. This card suddenly becomes even less of a premium event. And speaking of that, Michael Morales, we know, serving as the backup fighter instead of competing. I know a lot of fans hope, myself included, we were going to see maybe a Morales-Carlos Prates fight. That would have actually made me consider keeping my name on canvas. That might have actually got me out to the event. If we would have seen Sean Brady, who's going to compete in RAF, I'll get to see him compete in a couple weeks. Joe Pfeiffer. Right? These are fighters that would have made sense. I understand from a contingency standpoint, the UFC wants insurance. Okay? They want to make sure their biggest fight of the night is saved. But can you really do that thinning out an already thin card? Because the UFC has set an expectation for us that we are always going to get, at least with these numbered events, a card full of quality fights. And you have to look at these markets. Listen, Vegas, New York, Abu Dhabi, they receive loaded, stacked events. Philadelphia is a passionate fight city. And it generally gets less and less. I can tell you, living in this area, Baltimore has not had a fight for years. The last card in Philadelphia I personally went to, 2019, the names on that card: Justin Gaethje, Michelle Waterson, Kevin Holland, prime Sodiq Yusuff, who at the time, little local, not too far down the road. Edson Barbosa fought Justin Gaethje that night. Edson Barbosa is on this card. His record since that fight with Gaethje is 4-7. We've seen, of course, the incredible stretches We've seen the White House card. We've seen the Conor card. Right? No one's going to talk about the events that we've seen and how they've kind of diminished the pool of fighters available. But again, we're becoming more and more accustomed to these stacked cards. We're in the midst of, I think, maybe 10 straight weeks of UFC events, not to mention Contender Series. The UFC has raised a standard. And to that standard, UFC 330 feels very underwhelming by comparison. And I do think when we talk about Philadelphia, it becomes part of the conversation because they do deserve a premium event. You know, when the UFC was able to go to New York, it seemed like for a while that's all they wanted to do was go to New York, go to New Jersey. So whether it's scheduling, whether it's injuries, whether it's bad timing, you still see a card in a major city just not getting a lot to it, where even fans outside of this area expected more. Now, I guess to be optimistic, right, there is still time. But how much can this card meaningfully change? I mean, I would say it's probably more likely that injuries are going to happen than a short notice opportunity. You know, another thing, just to be clear, CFFC is right here. CFFC has fed a ton of stars, absolute stars, into the UFC. You could have certainly got some quality veteran names. You could have went and pillaged some CFFC guys if you needed to and done it that way. Could they still do it? I guess. But when was the last time the UFC really surprised you? When was the last time they added, a meaningful fight 2 weeks before an event? I'm not going to say it hasn't happened, but I will say it's very, very rare. So when you look at where this card is, I think we're in a position where this is going to be remembered, no matter what happens, as a card that really got carried by 2 title fights. And I've not even spoke about, Jillian Robertson, who I enjoy as a fighter, but at the same time, co-main event? I understand it's a title shot. I understand a title has to be a co-main event. I truly do. But it seems like of all the title fights you could have made, it is far and away the weakest of them. Of cards that you're really not going to care about saying, well, there's 2 titles. Oh, Jillian Robertson is contending. I mean, I know she earned it. I don't want to disrespect her. But at the same time, had you put that on a title of a fight night, I probably would have been a lot more invested into it. It seems like this was just an afterthought. I think what you're really relying on is Islam to carry this brand, at least for the next couple weeks, carry this title opportunity. Sitting here today, watching the card in Serbia, and then continue to promote this. And the more you look at the poster, the more you look at them push, the more you look at the promote, you say, that's it. Right? Islam is cementing himself as one of, if not the greatest of all time. Like it or not, the stats will back it up. The title defenses will back it up. It's a huge step for him. I don't know that the UFC is doing enough to promote the significance specifically of this fight, the risk that Ian Gary does present, more so from a range perspective, from a height perspective. But at the same time, I mean, what are they really doing with this card collectively? This card sat for a very long time with only a handful of fights. And I continually would check almost every day and say, they've got to add something more. They've got to add something more. They've got to add something more. They really never added anything more. Love to know your thoughts on this one. As a purist, I'm still going to watch every fight. But disappointing. Not just that I love the opportunity when I went to UFC 302, go see my name on the mat in person. It's an expensive endeavor to do that. Out of pocket, it probably costs you $1,500, $1,000 bare minimum to do something like that. Not that I can't do it. This was a case where I didn't justify to myself doing it. Although I have actually looked, the ticket prices, because of how the quality of this card has impacted just the fans' perception, the ticket prices for this exceptionally low. Might go to the event if they continue to drop this way and still just be there as a fan, but not be proud, at least on paper, of what the UFC has provided to Philadelphia.